had to ask myself, who am I that I'm allowing this, and that this is okay? What is inside of me that I'm trying to fill, that I'm having these relationships fill, that is I'm not filling myself. So I mean, there's just so many examples of that. And I think you're right in that so many times it's sort of a, a hiccup in life that sort of awakens us to something in ourselves that's not yet healed, not yet filled, not yet loved. And I think what's so important in those moments is
Shit happens. Shit happens to you and me. It doesn't matter if you're a wizard, a king, or a queen. Even if you are magic, you gotta agree. It's worth it to talk shit out, no matter how messy.
Welcome to Shit Happens, where shit always happens and no shit is too insignificant to discuss. From trivial inconveniences to life's profound challenges and everything in between, this show explores every aspect of the unpredictable nature of existence with your favorite shit talker and host, P.
Yeah, it's P.
Okay. Olivia, hey, beautiful.
hi, how are you?
I'm good, and yourself? I'm much better now. I'm seeing your beautiful face.
You're so
Like,
sweet.
oh my God.
It's moments like these where I wonder how I can possibly go only once or twice a year seeing you. You're the energy that I just want to love and hug right away.
You see, I think that's why this year, at least you saw me twice in like a span of 1 month.
I know. What a blessing. So nice.
It is. I am so happy to have you here. And I thank God for last minute, because yesterday I was sitting in my bed and I was like, you know what? While I wait for her to give me the date, let me just start working on the outline of how I want the conversation to go. And today I woke up to your message, let's do it today. And I was like, there was a reason I had to do this yesterday.
Good job listening to your intuition. There you go.
I think that's what happens when you work with Katie. Like, it rubs onto you. Like,
Oh, man.
how you doing, love?
I'm doing really well, thank you. It's World Meditation Day today. I don't know if you know that, but yes, I'm doing my best to spread the love.
I just saw it actually on Threads. Somebody had posted, like, if Real John can go from making music that he shouts to doing meditation, you can pivot in whatever ways you want. So I went to look at the video, then I reposted it on Instagram, and then I saw a post at the meditation there. I was like, oh my God, it's like the signs are just leading today.
Don't you love when that happens?
It's like, I was like, maybe that's why Katie chose today, right? And also, happy anniversary. I know yesterday was your anniversary.
Yeah, thank you so much. 15 years together with Chris and 12 years married. So, thank you. Look at those hearts.
I loved the wedding pictures. Like, there was this picture you posted, and it was the way Chris was looking at you and you were looking on the side, and you could just see, like, I can't believe this girl said yes to my Insta love. And then I think it was the same day, because Chris still had his shirt on, and then you had the yellow bikini. I was like, this is a wedding I wanted to be in.
Girl, you better know I had that yellow bikini on at my wedding because it was hot. We were in the Keys, and I was like, nope, we're doing bathing shoes at the wedding. That's just how it's gonna roll.
I love it. I was like, yep, this is so Katie. This is why I love this woman. But so, Katie, thank you for doing this with me. I wanted to talk about the art of falling in love with yourself. And anytime I'm around you, like, people can, like, even those people right now who are here can say, like, you really light up and you have this glow inside and out. I know every time I see you, I'm just like, I want to hug. I just want to see her smile and be around her. You have this energy that just brings in. What more I love about it is you also talk about the difficulties you have, like, whenever you go through difficult times, whether it's being a mom, being a wife, being a friend, you're very authentic about that, which I love, because sometimes people assume, like, I remember when I came out and said I was depressed, the first thing people was like, you're always happy. How are you depressed? Like, people always assume that happy people, or people always just assume, like, because Katie's like this, maybe she's always been like that. But there's a journey with falling in love with yourself. And I know me and you have had on and off conversations in between bypass of certain things. I wanted to have this conversation with you. So, self-love. How has your self-love journey been?
Oh, man. I feel like falling in love with yourself, this practice of self-love, because it's very much an active practice, it's a lifetime process. And I feel like I like to think that most of us as young kids innately love ourselves. Like we're the best thing since sliced bread. I see this in my baby still, like ego and
Mm-hmm.
caring about what the world thinks of them hasn't really kicked in yet. So I feel like we all start out that way, and then sort of life and humanness gets kind of piled on us, and it seems to get really complicated. So I feel like our I really do believe like our job in this life is to get to know ourselves and to really understand who we are, and therefore how to carve our own little unique path in this world. And I think the process of doing that forces you to have to fall in love with yourself. Or I shouldn't say or. And part of the following in love with yourself is finding some dark shit and and really looking at it in the eye and deconstructing it and forgiving and having grace with yourself and knowing that there's some crazy ugly parts. I mean, between you and I, part of Chris and I's joke together is like no one would ever be with me because I'm a piece of work. And he would say the same thing about himself. Like we are so uniquely matched and we're just like each of us are just these pains in the asses in some ways, And so I feel like all of us have that. We're so different and unique and sort of woven together with all these really intricate, complex parts. So getting to know ourselves is part of what it takes to really falling in love with yourself. And I could go on and on about the practice of that, but I mean, that's really where it begins, is understanding I ain't perfect, but I'm perfectly me, you know?
That's so true. And yeah, you're right. There's so many things that I want to pinpoint. First of all, I feel like, we all find the best pain in the ass that we want to deal with because everybody's going to be a pain in the ass, right? You just choose your favorite pain in the ass to deal with. Because
Pretty
if they're
much.
not your favorite, they just remain a pain in the ass. But if they're your favorite, their pain in the ass kind of makes it less pain.
Yes, exactly. Yep,
But
exactly.
but also you're right because at one point in me when I really started loving myself, I had to look back and I was like, when did I stop loving myself? Because as a kid I was a tomboy, right? I never cared about what people say. I like playing with boys, I like climbing trees, I like doing all the dangerous non-girly stuff and everything. I still had Barbie dolls, I'm not gonna lie, I still had
Yeah.
Barbie but I was more into the adventure and activity. And I think once I went to college and, you start meeting boys in a different level and you start liking boys in that way, it becomes like you have to do things to make people like you, right? And you lose yourself
Oh,
in that process. Not sometimes in a good way, sometimes in a bad way, sometimes in a crappy way, but we do lose ourselves because we are trying to figure out where we belong, right? We're in college, new
yes.
surroundings, we are with new people, we are meeting people who to some of us might seem cool and we're like, oh my gosh, she's cool, I want to kind of be like her, and you're doing things that are not for you just because you think that person looks cool doing that. I remember mine, after going through all that, I ended up in a emotionally draining relationship, and that really sucked my energy, and I'm big on energy. Like I think I can over go through anything, but once it starts to suck out my energy and I'm a very happy person, that's when I really was like, okay, I need to deal with this. But it was also the fear of leaving that relationship. Not that I knew the relationship was over, but it was like what came with the relationship, right? I was new in Atlanta. Most of my friends, the people I knew, were attached to this person. So in my head was like, if I end it, will they still hang out with me? Will they still talk to me? Will I start life again by myself? All those, but I really had to look at myself one day and be like, I must not really love myself if I'm willing to stick around to the emotional damage just to hang around people. And if people are only going to hang around me because of this person, that means they're really not my people, right? So
Yeah.
you are right when you say you really have to sit down and look at yourself. And that's when the time also I was like, why is everybody leaving me? Like, sometimes we're constantly pointing fingers like, oh, it's their fault, it's their fault. It can't always be everybody's fault of why nobody wants to be around you or you now have to look down and be like, would I want to hang out with me? Like at where I am right now?
Yeah. Yeah. You've ever heard that saying, like, once you start hearing the same kind of excuses or blamings, like, what's the constant thread in all of that? Me. Like, I am, like I can look back and say, in relation to relationships specifically, since you brought that up, I could say, oh, well, all the guys in my past, didn't choose me. Like, I forced them to love me because I'm this light, amazing woman. And then they would, once the bliss of the poof of Katie is gone, then it's like, oh, then they were breaking up with me because they hadn't chosen me. They didn't actually really love me. And that hurt so bad. But once, over time, once I could see that thread, and I had to ask myself, who am I that I'm allowing this, and that this is okay? What is inside of me that I'm trying to fill, that I'm having these relationships fill, that is I'm not filling myself? So I mean, there's just so many examples of that. And I think you're right in that so many times it's sort of a, a hiccup in life that sort of awakens us to something in ourselves that's not yet healed, not yet filled, not yet loved. And I think what's so important in those moments is enormous, enormous grace, because I'm the hardest person on myself. No one else needs to be hard on me. I'm so hard on myself. And so it can be like, what's wrong with you that you don't love yourself? Like, how could you let this happen? And it can't be that attitude. It has to be like, you have to be sort of like holding your little 3-year-old self and being like, hey, babe, it's okay. Like, it's okay that you did A, B, and C. You did what you did at the moment with the best of your knowledge and ability at the time. Now you know better, and now you could do better. It's okay. Like, let's go. One more step forward. What direction do you want to go now? So I feel like that really is where a piece that we could see self-love in action is this willingness to not beat ourselves up and not force change from a place of negativity or fear or not enoughness, but really from a place of like holding this little 3-year-old beautiful being who deserves and is the embodiment of love. So how do I continue to walk hand in hand with you in this life,
True. When you said we're the hard, like I'm also the hardest on myself, and which ended up making things worse because then I get depressed and I go in this hole of overthinking, like, oh my God, who am I? Why did I do that? And then it just makes things worse, and I'm now in the dark place where technically I should. But I learned to practice, like, if my friend came to me with this, I will be cuddling them, right? I'll be like, listen, we make mistakes. We get past it. I'll talk to them in a kinder tone. I will be acknowledging them and telling them they can get through that. So I was like, practice the same thing on yourself. It's just like how when we give advice, right? We are quick to give our friends advice, and sometimes we need to hear that advice. Like, we are not doing the same shit, but we're not giving us or taking that advice, but we are easily giving out. But also, I had to learn because sometimes I give myself grace too much. Like, I just see that, so I had to learn also where tough love also is kind of needed. Because just
Yes.
like our friends, if you see your friend coming to you and complaining about the same shit constantly and constantly, at some point you're like, oh my fucking God, can you shut up? I am, can you
Like,
make a decision and we move on? So at
yeah.
that point, I have to be like, okay, if you know you've been there through there and you've given them grace, and then now you have to change it into tough love because eventually people do need to practice what they are working. So I learned myself also now, like, okay, I've learned to give myself grace. Now I need to remember to give myself tough love where it's needed. Like, listen, Paula, it's been 2 months. Get your shit together. Like, no more grace at this point.
You know what though? You're speaking so beautifully about what I distill down to, um, self-awareness, like a willingness to dig deep inside, a willingness to excavate and go find some of these things about yourself. And I just really have to say this. I feel like the vast majority of what is seen out there is just fast-paced life, moving, moving, moving. Something hurts me, boom, okay, whatever. I'll save that for later to process, and brrr, and this is the way I'm supposed to go. Drrr. And I feel like that's such a detriment to our own personal happiness and fulfillment, because if we don't take the time to get out of that, take some time to come deep into ourselves. This is why I love meditation. This is why I love journaling. This is why I love movement and being at one with nature. Like, all of these things are catalysts to actually slowing ourselves down off of that treadmill of life, so that we can come inside and we can say, hey, I'm feeling a little melancholy. What's going on? Or, I there's something unsettled in me right now. I don't really know what it is. Or, hey, you know what? That person said this to me and it hit me the wrong way. What's here? And if we're willing to take the time to have self-inquiry and to really ask ourselves, why are we feeling this? What's going on inside? What might have caused this? What from our past might be linking up with this? What from our future? What about all this stuff? Like, discover more about ourselves, and we start to reveal and shed light on those parts of ourselves that have been darkened. And in doing that, the reason that's so special is because then you become the driver's seat in your life, instead of just whisking by in this path that either, was sort of determined for you by society or other people around you, or a past version of yourself determined, but now it's no longer valid for you, right? So, I get a lot of people who will ask me about how I've been able to sort of carve out this weird little path in my life. And I don't do it perfectly. I still constantly am aware of where I am, but I am constantly coming in to sort of recalibrate. Is this what I want to do? Am I being the kind of person I want to be? Am I being the kind of mom I want to be? Am I being the wife I want to be? Am I living the fulfilled life I want to live? Am I doing the work in the world that I want to do? And I ask myself those questions pretty damn often. And in answering those questions, that's where I can sort of tweak and make a little click to the right every once in a while. And that's when you start seeing people who have these seemingly really, what I'll call, like, just real, bold, authentic, holy cow, how are they living that life? That's how you get those people, because they are constantly really in tune with themselves and being pulled by that connection of who they're meant to continue to become, instead of just running on that treadmill of what they're supposed to be doing, So that self-inquiry is so important.
Oh my God, so true. And I think sometimes people don't want to dig in or question themselves is because they're scared of the answers, because they get so comfortable, right? We live in this society where we are comfortable with things, and even though we want the change, we are scared to get ourselves out of our comfort zone. I remember before COVID, I used to live the busy life, but then when the year comes to an end, you look back and you don't see what you were really doing. You just see you were going, like, and that's when I started saying, I don't want to be busy, I want to be productive. Like, even if I do one shit per day, at least I was productive and I know what I've accomplished, compared to just
Yes.
you're constantly undergoing, you don't even know what you have accomplished or done or look at yourself. And it took COVID, because that's when I really went down the hole, because I had just gone through a breakup and I was dealing with stuff, but I didn't want to feel it, right? I didn't want to hear it. I was just like, as long as I'm busy, I don't have to think about it. I don't have to worry about it. Then COVID happened and the world shut down, and now you have all the time for yourself, right? What
And now you got to
happens
think about it.
So
Yeah.
that's when I started drinking too much to avoid thinking, right? And then I was just going under, and I was like, okay, something has to change. I have to dig in. I had to walk through my breakup. I had to walk through things, and the more I walked, it was hard to dig into yourself and your past and to see, like, what's wrong, what can you change.
Yeah.
So, but the more harder it was, the more lighter it felt, because I felt like I was finally getting answers that I was looking for years and years.
Yeah.
And that's why these days I tell people, even like last year when I lost my job, I didn't go straight to, like, normally in my head I'd be like, okay, we lost this job, we're just gonna start straight up to Indeed. I was like, I'm gonna give myself this whole week to just be in it, feel, cry, be mad,
Yeah.
shout, whatever I need. And then from
Yeah.
next week, we're gonna wake up and start with a plan. So I allow.
Yeah.
And I think that's what people need. It's like we are waiting for this permission to be allowed to take moments to feel things and to grasp in them and to ask ourselves, like, what if? I don't go this way, because normally this way is what has been installed in me, right? It's not really the way I want to go. It's just what everybody's telling me because that's the norm, right? But what if I pivot and go this way? And then you go that and you find yourself happy and you're like, oh shit, I am happy. I don't care what people have to say. But I chose this route and it's making me happy. And sometimes I think that's why maybe people also end up in messy relationships or things, because they're seeking happiness elsewhere instead of seeking happiness within themselves.
100%. And this is the work that you have to do to have real, authentic love of self. You really do. You have to do this self excavation. You have to process stuff. You have to be willing to bravely listen to the intuition who's telling you, don't live in fear. You're going to get another job. Give yourself a week to process and to feel all the feels. Like, that's self-love, to actually listen to that voice and then to take action on that. And the more that you listen to that and you take action on that intuition, you start trusting her a lot more. So the next time she comes up and you hear that intuition and she's telling you, don't do this, or, hey, I know you're worried about this, but this is actually okay. Let it go. Like, you're going to be more inclined to actually listen, and you're going to be more inclined to trust that voice, and you're going to be more inclined to take bigger and bigger action because you have so much trust in self. And it's over time, doing this over and over again, that love just builds and deepens and flows because you've proven to yourself really that you don't have anything to prove to yourself, that you really are whole and beautiful and amazing and unique, and you can trust yourself, you know?
And that's so true, because once I really started loving myself and really being into growing myself and learning myself, I've also found that overcoming obstacles has been easy. I'm not going to say that there are no obstacles to overcome. There, but I'm less worried about them when they show up compared to back in the day. I'm like, yeah, we have survived way worse. Me and myself, we got this. I might cry like a bitch for a second, you know? I
Yeah.
might do this, but I will overcome it. And it just feels less heavier. Like, the obstacles that come feel less heavier than they would if I hadn't done the work, if I wasn't in tune with myself or loving myself.
Right. Yeah. 100%. Yeah.
So let me ask you this. There's so much misconception about self-love and self-care, right?
Mm-hmm.
Especially with the word selfish. People like to throw that, especially when they see you loving yourself or treating yourself. Oh, you're so selfish.
Yep.
And sometimes, and sometimes those misconceptions and myths sometimes is what makes other people hold back. Even though in this day in life, I feel like nobody should hold out on living their life because of other people's words. But we're still learning. People are still catching up.
Yeah.
Kudos to you who are already there. So, how was it for you when you were in your self-love, self-care journey, and how did you get through the misconceptions of people? Especially, I know when you're a mother, right? When you take time for yourself, or you don't love your daughters, or you don't want to spend time with your daughters. Oh, like there's all those.
I had literally, as you were talking, I was like, 5 examples right now that happened this week of, me and the girls. Yeah. Again, it is always a very imperfect journey, but it is a worthwhile one. And for me, it's knowing my voice versus what the other noise is that's going on either in my head or outside. So I'll give you this example. This is a silly example, but hopefully very relatable to any mother out there. But even if you're not a mom, self-love is the act of choosing what it is you really need, because you genuinely cannot take care of anyone else unless you can take care of yourself. And you really, and even beyond that, like you just need to do it for yourself, right? Like you need to get whole within yourself. So I have not been shy about the fact that this month has been a little nutso. My husband was out of the country for like half of the month. The month of May is a big one for my company because it's Mental Health Awareness Month. It's Mother's Day. It's World Meditation Day. There's a lot of like stuff happening that we do deliberately to try and expand our reach, try and make sure more and more people know about our meditations. Simultaneously, it's the end of this week is the end of the school year for my kids. So there's a lot of like
activities.
I don't know what teachers are thinking in the month of May. They're trying to squeeze all the activities in. And here I've been kind of doing this as the single mom most of the month, right? My husband's back, thankfully, now. But I say that because, you know, it has been a lot for me to hold. And so my husband had gotten back, I think like late Wednesday night this past week. He was, you know, in another country on the other side of the globe. So like he was catching up on sleep, like, still off. So by Friday, after the kids got home, I literally was like seeing stars. I'm like, I am so, like, I did not have a center of gravity. Like, I was I was emotional about everything, like everything felt up and down, like just completely emotionally just off center, right? And so my kid, usually we kind of have a routine that I kind of have, like, can they watch TV? I'm not an anti-screen person at all, but like I'm constantly trying to balance like how much TV are they watching, kind of a thing, right? So anyway, so Friday came around and I was like, here, have the TV. It is yours. And I'm not joking. I literally, I think I might have ordered food for myself. I don't remember what I did. Whatever it was, I remember being in the family room, there in my bedroom watching TV for 2 hours, maybe more. I don't know, because I was like emotionally exhausted and wiped out on the couch, like just staring at the walls the whole time and in my head is what I'll call the mom guilt, but really this could be labeled as anything that the outside noise trying to tell you what things should be. And so the outside noise is like, Katie, they're watching too much TV. You know, you should be doing something more active with them. Oh my gosh, come on, get some energy going, girl. Come on, you could do this. Let's go. Like, and once I could see that was noise, I really just took a deep breath and I was like, what do I need right now? I am depleted and I need every ounce of any nourishment I can have right now. And so much of my extroverted energy, you know, I'm coming to think that I'm more of an introvert than I've ever thought I was, but so much of my extroverted energy goes to my kids. Like, I don't, you know, default parent. Like, I'm just like, I'm active with my kids. I'm present with my kids when I'm with them. So like, this was a moment I was like, I need a default. I need to press, they need the digital babysitter, and that needs to be fine. And so this act of self-love is in that moment when all these voices are telling you what should be. Our job is to go inside and be like, what do I really need right now? And it didn't matter what anyone else has to say about screens. It doesn't matter what anyone else has to say about what the heck they're eating right now. Like, none of that matters. I need to take care of myself right now, and this is what it looks like in this one moment. It might change in an hour, in 2 hours, tomorrow morning, but like, that's it. The next day, it's worth noting, they had a birthday party, and then they were going to go see my mother-in-law. And I woke up with Chris that morning. I was like, I need the day. They're yours today. Yeah. And I took the entire day. I did more work in one day than I had done like all week long, which is what I needed then. I mean, that's self-care and self-love isn't always about like pedicures and relaxing. It's like, there are moments where I'm like, what I need to feel nourished is to do my work and to write my meditations and to record. And that feels so good to me. And I hadn't been able to do that very well while he was gone. And so I was like, oh my God, I got like just this flow of creativity coming through, and I like, let's get it done. And that feels good. So, you know, to me, that's ultimately what it looks like in reality, is in any given moment, choosing what's best for you. And that doesn't mean that you're not choosing what's best for your kids as well, but it's, you know, when you have stuff to give and you know when you don't. So to me, self-love is constantly navigating that every decision that you make.
I love that, and first of all, kudos to you, because I know that couldn't have been easy. I remember even texted Chris. I was like, "Safe flight, and let Katie know she's not alone." Because I was like, "Man, I can't imagine." But also, I feel like I am so sorry for mothers out there who feel like they need permission or they get judged because the child had 1 extra hour to watch TV or ate junk food one night. It's like, come on, we're bobbing kids. Our parents at one point also fed us breakfast for dinner or left, you know. It is okay. It's not the end of the world. That will be fine. And there's no right way or wrong way of being a mother. Like there's no rule of a mother should be this, this, this. And that's why I say there should be more than, well, there's 2 mothers there, but there should be more than 2. I think every month there should be a date destined for mothers.
Oh, man.
but, but also the self-care thing. I think people also have this idea that self-care is all just brunch with the girls or pedicure or bubble bath. But self-care can also be taking the time to journal. It can also be taking the time to talk to your therapy. That's self-care because you're unburdening. It could be the time just reflecting on your life. And for us who creativity is our passion, trust me, that's why I say podcasting saved my mental health. When I'm depressed and I start getting ideas of new show or what to do with talking with people, the way I lit up and just get out of bed and get into action. So it could be gardening, whatever passion you have, that is your self. And sometimes that's what kind of brings you back to earth when you feel like, man, I don't belong in earth right now.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm glad you did that for yourself. Something else, right? People underestimate the power of self-love because they don't know how much loving yourself or this self-love ends up pouring out to people even much better. So how would you say self-love impacted your relationships with others?
Caring and loving for myself enables me to show up as the best version of myself for other people, which means that in my relationship with my husband, when I do a good job of taking care of myself, I can show up and be the best version of myself for him. Like in our relationship, I can care and love for him. I can make sure I'm treating him with the level of love and respect that my ideal self wants to treat my husband, right? When I'm broken down and tired and exhausted and I'm completely falling apart, I don't show up as a really, my best self. Like, let's be honest. Like, we have a term in my house called cranky pants. Like, mommy gets cranky pants at certain times of the day, right? Like, my girls will be, Sedona, are you cranky pants? Yeah. What do you need? Do you need some TLC? You need some mommy love? Yes. So I feel like in my relationship with my daughters, in my relationship with friends, in my relationship with my team, like I constantly have to make sure that I am getting cared for by myself so that I could show up as best for them. Sometimes this gets misconstrued as in like, you know, only a full cup can overflow onto others. And the misconception about that could be like, oh, what? So my whole job is just to give to others? No, it's not that. It's about like, my job in this world is to be the best version of myself I could be, and that is in relation to other people too. So yeah, it just allows me to be my best self for anyone that I'm with. And I'm not always successful at it. Like I'm constantly working on that, but that is one thing that I know. Like if I'm not showing up as the best mom, as the best sister, as the best daughter, like there's something in me that needs a little love. There's something in me that needs a little care.
I love that. And I used to say that somebody recently came on my podcast and said, I don't share my cup when it's full. I only share my cup when it's overflowing. Because if it's full and I start sharing it, it's gonna get low, and I'm gonna need to. So I need it to overflow. That way I have enough to go. And I looked at it. I was like, you know what? That kind of makes sense. And this is how I feel every time I go to Podfest. Because I used to think I'm such an extrovert until I started going to Podfest, and I realized how introvert I am because I am on such high energy at Podfest for the 5 days, 24/7. By the time I come back home, I do not want to see or talk to nobody for like a week or 2 weeks. Like I'm done. I left it all at Podfest. Like even on the last day, I'm
That's a
like,
good thing.
I know,
That's a really good thing.
even on the last day of Podfest, I'll be like, bittersweet. Like I don't want to leave because I'm so used to waking up to these faces that I get to see once a year and just
Right.
roam the hallway and you see people. But then I'm so ready for my bed and to be in my own little bubble. That's how I feel. But then that's when she says that I realize because yes, I go to Podfest with my cup so full because of that excitement of seeing people, right? And
Yeah.
throughout those 4 days, it's just running because I'm Paula. Everybody wants to be around Paula. Paula is nice and amazing, and then I'm like all over and everywhere. And by the time I'm leaving Portfest, my cup is like empty.
Time to refill. It's time to refill, and that's okay. And
That's
that's
what I'm
okay.
saying. We're gonna try 2025. I'm gonna come with my cup overflowing. So maybe the first 2 weeks before Podfest, I need to kind of keep that momentum going and see.
There
But
you go.
I'll always serve my cup for Podfest. But since May is mental health, right? And we are all big mental health advocates. How would you say the connection between self-love and mental health is? How important is that?
I'm obviously there's a connection, and I feel like it's just taking care of our holistic selves, and our mental health. You know, I love the term because it gives voice to what I think can be invisible, is like how we are feeling in our heads, how our thoughts are, and how are we taking care of our thoughts and the ways that we think about the world, the ways that we think about us, and the highs and lows that takes us, and the emotions that are connected to that, right? So I love that because it gives visibility to what feels invisible. And I also feel like it's just part of everything. It's just part of our holistic self. And so, yeah, I feel like I if we're looking through the lens of mental health, and then we're asking ourselves the questions of how can I love myself in relation to mental health, then it gets us into more specific answers, which is, what do I need in order for my mindset to be what I want it to be, in order to strengthen my mind, in order to not let my thoughts rule my life, in order to manage my emotions that are all connected to these thoughts, and kind of the highs and lows that I feel like it's taking me on. How do I really like take control of that, and feel like I get to create this life, not just, kind of go with the flow of all of that stuff. So, I feel like, again, the self-inquiry that elicits self-love automatically brings us there to, like, how are we being our best selves? What does my mind need? What does my body need? What does my spirit need? Like, all of these things are such vital questions to constantly ask ourselves. And loving ourselves is the asking of those questions and the answering of those questions, and then the doing and listening to those answers.
So true. Because once I started really loving myself, because I know as a kid I loved myself, but I lost myself in the in between. But I became more mindful, right? And it's funny because we all say, "Oh, I don't judge," but we all judge at different levels, right? I mean, and sometimes it's an instant thing. Like you're not judging, but your mind instant goes like when you see someone like, "Damn, she's really wearing that," and I catch myself like, "Paula, be kind," but it instantly comes. So I don't judge by purposely judging, but it does sometimes affect. But I've been more mindful and aware and more kinder towards things and more compassionate and more understanding, because it's like, okay, if I want people to be very understanding to me because I've done the work, I love myself and I know which parts need, maybe they also need that way. In the beginning I would have been like, oh, fuck that, they just this, but now I'm more like, let's try to look at their side of you, or you never know what they're. I'm
Yeah.
more that person now than I was before I actually started self-loving myself.
Yeah. Well, you say something interesting in that, like, obviously, before I started loving myself, but even in loving ourselves, like, it's still just this lifelong journey, right? So
Yes.
I'm curious to know, what do you do now when you start feeling away from this connectedness to yourself? Like, when you start feeling like you're sort of floating away from really being in love with yourself, whether that's judging yourself, or, not being happy with where you are in life, or whatever that is. Like, what do you do to bring yourself back to center and to make sure, like, okay, I feel aligned. I feel like I'm amazing and I love myself. Like, what do you do when you fall away from that?
Two things, and you're gonna laugh at that. Trash TV.
What?
Trash TV, like
Trash
all the,
TV.
yeah, like either the Real Housewives or Married at First Sight or Love Is Blind. Because when I look at that and the things, like when I really listen to certain things, I'm like, does this person really love themselves? Like, are they for real right now? And it really comes like, damn, I love myself. But it also ends up kind of like mirroring back to me because always be somebody saying some shit that will turn it to me and I want to have a conversation with somebody, either a close friend or turn it into an episode because I want to dig in and that will get me like, I'm feeling also this. So I've been through this. Like, why are we doing this? Like, why do we feel like we need to feel? So it always ends up getting me back to my creativity side, which brings excitement. And then photo shoots. Like, I will literally go into my closet and look for an outfit I haven't worn in a long time and go outside, especially when the weather is nice, and find a forest or a nature area and just take photo shoots. And I don't plan like big photo shoots, just with my phone and my stand and my clicker, and I go.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, I'm having so much fun because you're doing these funny things, and sometimes people are there also watching you act stupid in the camera. And then you just start laughing, and it just brings like, oh my God, I love myself because I don't care even people are watching me. Like, I'm still doing my thing. So it's always like a booster.
I love
What about
that.
you? What about you?
I think the first thing I do is I get in nature some way, somehow. It could be as simple as stepping outside in my bare feet and standing in the grass, or most often it's going on a walk on the beach or we have a ton of nature preserves here in Florida. So, 20 minutes away, 15 minutes away, I've got a nature preserve that's makes you feel like you're in another world. So immediately that's what I do, because for me, that it's simultaneous. Being in nature is really interesting in that, like, it simultaneously reminds me how small I am and insignificant. I'm going to use that in quotes. And insignificant I am is in the large scope of this vast universe that none of us actually really understand how big, right? So, like, I feel so small, and simultaneously I feel so important and unique. Like, there's no one else like me. I'm this beautiful soul that no one else is like me. So somehow it sort of like flips the script for me, and I get really rooted in, like, nothing else seems like that big of a deal anymore. And this is who I am. And okay, maybe here's some ugly parts. Let's work through this shit, because otherwise what? What's the other alternative? I'm going to feel like bad about myself? Like, that doesn't feel good. Like, I don't, I have said in the past that I have a very low tolerance for unhappiness, which means that I will let myself feel the feels, but I don't want to stay there very long. Like, it doesn't feel good to, like, be depressed for too long, or be angry for too long, or to be like stressed out over stuff for too long. So I'm for as long as I can remember, I've been very abrasively in my face with my emotions, and in my face with, like, what's going on, because I want to dissect, I want to figure it out, and I want to go past it. I want to transcend it. So yeah, so getting in nature does that for me. So that's always my first response to, like, if I don't feel good about myself, I got to go into nature. I got to kind of like get reshaken and kind of rerouted. And then, talking things out with friends is probably my second thing. Chris, I have a very close knit group of, like, my soul sisters. I've got about like 3 or 4 different soul sisters. So it's like, and each one of them I have a different relationship with. So I could just be like, here's all these things. And the great thing about soul sisters and your soul partner is that, like, they reflect back to you. It's not that you need them to do this, but what they naturally do because they love you is that they reflect back to you who you actually are and who you've probably forgotten in a little moment.
Reminder,
Yeah.
like a wake up call, even though you're supposed to be up at 5 a.m., you might put an alarm just in
Yeah.
case.
Yeah. So they're a little reminder of, like, Katie, you're telling me you're falling behind and you feel like a loser and you feel so stupid. But actually, let me remind you that you're this badass who's so smart and you figure shit out. And yes, you make mistakes, but oh my gosh, I've never seen anyone click into place and like get shit done the way that you do. Like, in my experience, and if you have one person in your life like this, you are blessed. Um, they give you the love and just a reminder of like, let me show you who your soul is. You must have forgot for a second, and that's okay, but let me remind you. So that's always it's a good immediate thing that I can kind of pull from too.
I love that. And the importance of soul sisters, right? On my group, on my WhatsApp, right? I have a group called therapy with two of my beautiful younging sisters. They're like my sisters, but they're really therapy. And it's always good to hear from young people on certain reflecting. Then I have another group, which is also kind of therapy, but these people have known me since childhood. We were school together in Uganda. One of them was in America with me and she went back home. So we've known each other in different phases of life. Who
Yeah.
also my best friend. And then I have my ex, who he's literally my best friend. Like he will be straight up blunt with me no matter what and stick by me. So it's always good to have those. And shout out to Soda who's on the comments who even said, love this topic. I've been wanting to do a podcast episode about falling in love with your heart. Soda, I met her last year at Empowered Podcasting Room. This year she came the first time at Podfest, and that was the first time me meeting her in real life.
Yeah.
But she has, sometimes you never know the people in these communities, how they also blend in and just, and it helps that Soda is in California time. So when I'm sending her stupid shit at midnight, going crazy, she's a little bit out.
I love it.
But you know, even, and that's why I always show up for Podfest or Podmatch. There's certain communities which given so much to me when I am going through shit. They just pour and pour, even without them knowing that they pour onto me. But they just, even the power of soul sisters or communities, like, and especially communities, when you go to communities, I think sometimes people just sit back and they're like, but that community doesn't do anything for me. You need to be a part of that community. You need to give to that community before they can start giving you back. And even if Podfest wasn't going to give me back, I was always going to give Podfest back because it gave me so much without them knowing. But, you know, so you go in the communities and take part. Be a part of that community, and you'll just see that love flows all over you.
Yeah.
Like I went from being a nobody at Podfest to now the mayor of Podfest. So yeah, don't sleep on communities and being intentional with this community.
Yeah, it's so true. I mean, what's the saying? Like you get what you put in, right?
Yeah, and you're supposed to put in. You can't just sit there and expect people to pour in. And that's why even when we talk about our mental struggles or even struggling in life, or I know it's hard to talk about your issues, but nobody's gonna come to help you if they don't know what you're looking for, or you need even help. And that's why even when I was jobless, I was constantly saying, I'm jobless, I'm looking for a job, because nobody's gonna come and say, Paula, do you want a job? You know,
Unless they know, right?
Yeah. But once they know, they're like, oh, look at Paula, she was looking for a job. Paula, you still looking for a job? People will stand in doors, or people will knock, because people know, oh, Paula gets depressed. Okay, if Paula is not online for a certain hours, they're gonna come checking, like, Paula, you okay? Because we know you talk about it, you share. So speak up, speak, and let people be there for you, because without speaking, nobody's going to be there for you. And sometimes the people around us do want to be there for us, but they don't know how to, because we are not giving them a chance to.
Yeah.
Which I want to say, Katie, shout out to your girl, because we saw that post and it really made my heart smile. Because I have a few of those friends, but now, you know, being grown up, everybody just moves and stuff, so it makes it hard. But when you still have those friends around you who pull up on you, because I'm that friend, I'm going to pull up on you. Like, so I love seeing that.
You're a lifer. I can tell. You're a lifer. I'm with you for life. Yep.
All right. So as we end this, I just want to say thank you for coming on and sharing this with me and just being open and your smile. Like, you have just, like, I can look at Katie all day. Like, yeah. By the way, I also met her mom, and she's the life of the party. I love your mom. Like, I'm a big fan of mom.
She loved you too, man. My mom is a character, man. You two have the same energy. You are, as soon as either of you walk in the room, like everyone knows, like it is there.
I'm just sad this time I met her towards the end. So next year I have to make sure as soon as I come, like, where's mama? Okay, like, you know, she's my partner. And now we even have a better pool. So I don't know. Me and mama might just disappear.
No. I know. You guys might have a pool date. I love it.
So for anybody out there who's feeling low, or they don't know how to get into their self-love journey, because it is a journey, and trust me, There's no end. Just like therapy or looking into yourself, like it's constantly ongoing because you're gonna get triggers and you're gonna get pushbacks. It's a bumpy road. It's up and down. It's not straightforward. So, what would you tell those people out there who are trying to find their way into self-love journey?
The number one piece of advice that I would love to give is to take time to be with yourself, whatever that looks like. Meditation, walking in nature, journaling, moving, sitting by a lake, whatever it takes. Like, be with yourself. Be willing to be with yourself. Just be, not on your phone, not thinking, writing down tasks, not doing things, like just get quiet with yourself. That is the entry point to self-love. So I can encourage everyone to do that. And I have a few meditations that could absolutely help. I happen to have just a few.
Let people know where they can find them. Everything. By the way, we are talking to a big boss over here. I know we've been talking about as Chris's wife, as a mother, she has her own network. So please
Yeah.
shout yourself out. Let the people know what you do about your network, where they can get this meditation. And she's amazing, like incredible.
So I have the Women's Meditation Network. We have 20 different podcasts across the network. And so believe me, we've got a meditation for you. We've got every emotion you have ever felt, want to feel, the high moments, the low moments, the, quiet space in your mind, chakras,
Sleeping ones.
Yeah.
I've listened to some of those.
Yes. One of my other girlfriends like to say, Katie, I slept with you last night. And I'm like,
I should have a shot next time I come to podcast. I sleep with Katie every night.
I will take it. I will take it. I love it. I joke about it, but it's so powerful to hear the stories on the other ends of the mic here. Like, there's just so many women who have come to listen, whether it's to help fall asleep or to really get clear on themselves and to kind of navigate a tough time or continue on with a good season that they're in. And I mean, the testimonials that I get at the other side of that are just incredible, in that, these become, I've had women share, like, they're off antidepressant medicines, they're finally sleeping for the first time, that they can remember, that they, oh my gosh, they feel really good, or they went through this really hard time and these meditations help. So, it's incredibly rewarding. I love writing these scripts. I love voicing these. I love managing the team of people who create these and who continually want to put these little poems of love out into the world. So so we have meditations no matter where you are in your life. We have a meditation that that could suit your needs. So
where can they find them? You're forgetting that.
I know. Oh, sorry. So if you're a podcast listener and you listen to Talk Shit with P, whatever podcast player you're on, go type in Women's Meditation Network and you'll find all of our shows. Or you could go to womensmeditationnetwork.com.
Thank you. I just want to say that there's two of them actually. I shared it with, I know it says Women's Meditation Network, but I did share with my best friend, who's a guy. And he was very impressed. It helped him. So you are out here really helping people, and I appreciate it. As a person who has sleeping issues, every now and then when it's finally like, okay, I've tried everything, I remember, oh, there's Katie, because I suck at listening to podcasts, right? And this is funny because I'm a podcaster. People always assume because you're a podcaster, you must be listening to thousands and thousands of podcasts.
I'm the same way.
I hardly listen to anybody.
I'm the same way. I'm the exact. People are like, "What's your favorite podcast?" I'm like,
I don't even listen to mine, actually. Like, when people say, "Oh, I listen to my episodes to see how I can be better," I'm like, no, my voice is cringe. Like, even when I'm editing it, I hate it. So why would I sit and listen? Even when I guest on other people's show, now I'm trying to be better. That let me listen to the episodes that I guest on them, but I really suck at listening.
That's hilarious. That's okay. That's totally okay.
But every now and then I'm like, oh, there's a woman's medication. Let me go look for my sleeping, and I fall asleep nicely. So thank you for saving us out here on the streets, and thank you, Chris, for sharing Katie with us, because definitely we are sleeping with Katie out here.
I'll take it. I'll take it.
Yeah, I'm gonna make a swimsuit and a hashtag on my ass where the swimsuit goes on the ass.
Sleep meditation for women. Sleep with Katie.
Oh my God. But Katie, I love you
I
so
love
much. And
you too, girl.
January 2025 is so far, but I can't wait to see you. And I'm giving you a heads up. You have like 5 months left to wear your pink boots because this time, 2025, I'm really,
You're gonna take
it's
them, aren't you?
you know, because now me and Mama are besties. So Mama is going to help me come up with a better plan of how we get it.
You're gonna call my mom and have her like, Mama, you gotta get those pink boots and just like stop
Yeah,
going to me.
meet me downstairs. I'm checking the lift. She's not here. She's not here. No, come. Yeah, go on the right. Oh, I see her on the front, but
Love
hide
it.
in there for me.
I love it.
We're gonna be all James Bond up in there. 007.
So join us
But
at
thank you.
podcast. Yes. Come see the traveling pink boots.
And then we'll make sure on the gratitude ceremony. So I want to be grateful for the pink boots I succeedingly got to get away with. But I love you so much, and thank you for joining us today. My love to the family, and until next time.
Until next time. Thanks, beautiful.
Shit happens.
Thank you for tuning in to Shit Happens, an integral segment of the innovative platform Talk Shit with Pete. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to hit subscribe and leave a review. You can find Shit Happens on YouTube at Talk Shit with Pete. If this served, share with friends or family who can relate. Remember, we all face challenges, but it's how we push past them that defines us. So, until next time, keep pushing forward. And remember, shit may happen, but so does growth. And you got this.